Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and in this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. And first we're going to talk about the United States of America, more precisely about the assassination attempt on the former President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. According to information we have, during the Donald Trump's president campaign, he visited the city, a small town that located in the Pennsylvania state, the town by the name of Butler. He was located in this area and he was talking with people, trying to explain him why he is the best, the next president of the United States of America, and why he is the better than Joe Biden. According to information we have, according to geolocations, Donald Trump was located exactly in this area. If you take a look at this territory, we're going to see a few barracks in this area. The first barrack that was located behind Donald Trump, this one, and there was another barracks, a serious network of barracks that located to the north of the original position of Donald Trump. We're talking about this territory. Let's take a look at geolocations. So we have the video, and in this video, for example, we can see how the terrorist or sniper attacked Donald Trump within a distance of 130 meters. Of course, Donald Trump managed to survive, but lots of people were wounded, and also one person lost his life during this terrorist attack. So that was the situation of Donald Trump. That was the position of Donald Trump, the exact area where he was talking with people, where he was, discussing different situation. And according to geolocations and according to information we have, that this was the small barrack, this roof of this barrack was the position of a sniper. If we calculate the distance between sniper position, geolocated sniper position, and Donald Trump himself, the distance is around 130 meters. This information, as you can see, was confirmed by simple geolocation manipulations. So once again, let's return back on map and let's discuss in details. According to video, as you can see, Donald Trump was located in this area and he was always turning his head. So summarizing everything, Donald Trump was watching in this direction, and sometimes he turns his head, and when he turned his head, he was watching in this direction. And basically the sources are saying that this turning of his head from one side to another basically saved his life, because when he was watching in strict, let's say, western direction, northwestern direction, from this position, that was a perfect position for sniper to attack him. But when he was turning his head a little bit to the southwestern position, that situation was the worst sniper position for a sniper. Let's take a look at the sniper again. We have some photo. This is the sniper. He was located in this area, and the sources were saying that he was moving with a rifle between civilians, and the sources are saying, the people on the ground, we have video and footage of that people were talking with the police officers and the people were talking with the Secret Service, that they saw this sniper, and that they were pointing to this sniper and telling the Secret Service and the police officers to take a look at this guy. He is going on the roof, he has a rifle, and most likely he has some bad plans regarding Donald Trump. So the sniper entered the roof, and then he started attacking Donald Trump. And the thing is, once again, that he started his attacks when Donald Trump turned his head to the southwestern direction, that most likely saved his life. Later we got a lot of statements, a lot of details where exactly the sniper managed to hit and so on. And another important position that we have on the map is this one. This is the sniper position of Secret Service. So when the terrorists attacked Donald Trump, as a counter-offensive, as a counter-attack, the United States sniper attacked the terrorist and killed him. According to information we have, during sniper attack, he managed to shoot from 5 till 9 bullets. 2 persons were wounded. One civilian lost his life, and Donald Trump was wounded as well. So maybe by the time you're gonna watch the video, we're gonna receive additional updates about the situation, but obviously this is one of the most important events that took place not just in July, but this may be the most important event that took place in 2024. First of all, we got the official statement from the Trump campaign. The President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this act. He is fine and he's being checked out to local medical facility. More details will follow. Later, Donald Trump gave his own statement. I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed and lost, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. And many other important things and statements was made by Donald Trump after a few hours of that assassination attempt. Of course, we have a report from the United States of America, from Joe Biden, the current president of the States. And he also reported that I have been briefed on the shooting of Donald Trump's rallies in Pennsylvania. And of course, he asked the United States of America, the people, to unite as one nation to condemn it. Of course, the Democrats Party doesn't have any other opportunities, any other chances, because probably today, maybe this morning at the beginning of that terrorist attack, they didn't realize everything, but most likely after a few hours later, right now, let's say at 5 p.m. of the local time, or any other times, hours after the situation, they completely realized that the Democrat Party and Biden himself lost the president elections, and most likely after this situation, Donald Trump is going to become the next president of the United States of America, and the chances are very high, probably up to 100%. Of course, now it's very important to understand the reaction of the world, the reaction of not just Democratic Party, Republicans Party, but of the closest allies of the United States of America. Of course, we're going to see statements and support for Trump and many other different forwards. But when talking about Ukraine, the situation with this country is completely different. Because we are usually discuss the situation in Ukraine, and we know a lot about the line of combat contact, about the statements of different people. On official lines, Zelensky president, of course, condemned that violence in the United States of America, but most important is the reaction of the soldiers and the generals and brigades along the line of combat contact. And for these purposes, we'll just discuss the statement that was published by 79th Air Mobile Brigade. We usually discuss their statements, not like something like an evidence or something that we need to discuss as a kind of a truth or something like this. We're just discussing the situation. For example, it's like a small example of the relations of the Ukrainian soldiers who are currently located on the line of combat contact to the situation with Donald Trump. This statement, as you can see, post is written in Russian, but I will try to translate to you. And the forces official Telegram channel, for example, of 79th Brigade is saying that the Ukrainian special forces are great. That it's even impossible to believe that Ukrainian special forces are able to conduct something like this. Of course, it's not like to kill some Russian blogger or to destroy some Russian Crimean bridge. It's something bigger. And of course, there was mistakes. Obviously, the Ukrainian special forces intelligence director should have found a better sniper. Obviously, they will find, and obviously the mission of special forces of Ukraine will be completed, and Trump will not be allowed to become a president, because the friends of Ukraine, the real friends of Ukraine, will not allow this, and more money, more weapon will continue sending and coming to the territory of Ukraine. So summarizing everything, I read a lot of posts from neo-Nazi or let's say Ukrainian soldiers who have been fighting with the Russians since the beginning of the special military operation. Most of them are disappointed that the sniper missed. Most of them are disappointed. Telling the truth, I must say that there are two groups of Ukrainian forces. Some of them are disappointed, and some of them didn't give any reaction to the situation. So telling the truth, I haven't found even a single Ukrainian brigade who was condemning that act of terrorist attack on the former president of the United States of America, Donald Trump. So this is the situation. Now let's move to Ukraine itself, and let's talk about the different battles and the situation on the ground. And of course, the most important update is that Urozhaine, the village of Urozhaine, was completely captured by the Russians during the period of 13th till 14th of July. We have lots of very interesting geolocations, videos of how the Russians were raising their flag, how the Russians hoisted the flag, and many other important updates. But the most important video is not about the raising the flag, but probably this one. First, the Russians conducted massive artillery preparation. The Russians were bombing Urozhaine. The Russians, as you can see, significant number of cluster rounds, artillery, multiple launch rocket systems. So basically, before attack, the Russians covered the entire city. And this is probably the most important moment, because in this video we can see significant number of motorcycles. It's like Sons of Anarchy that were storming Urozhaine. Tens of motorcycles, armored vehicles storming the village, and the Ukrainians, when they saw hundreds of motorcycles and more bikers, didn't know what to do with the Russians, because there are like hundreds of bikers and they have maybe tens of drones, and what to do with significant number of stormtroopers. They didn't realize, they didn't find the solution, and they lost the village completely. Later we got more details and more updates of when the Russians, let's say, landed. They dropped their bikes and start clearing the building by one, and later we got the video of another Russian flag in the most northern part of this territory, which confirms complete control. Of course, we haven't received any updates from the most northern part, from this rich network of the fortifications, but probably this territory was also captured by the Russians, or the Ukrainians surrendered. According to pro-Ukraine mappers, this territory was captured as well. So most likely today the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation will confirm this information, and we will color this territory completely. Now let's move further. We have discussed the statement of 79th Brigade regarding Donald Trump. Now let's move further. In the western Avdiivka direction, we have additional updates. We have the battle for Novosilovka Persha is about to be finished. The Russians are storming this territory from the north. The Russians are storming this territory from the northeast and from the east. And the Russians have already encircled the Ukrainians inside of this territory. The Ukrainians appeared under complete Russian FPV drone control. We have different adjustments on the map based on different mappers. This is the progress of the Russians in the eastern direction according to pro-Ukraine mappers, and this movement, this progress was confirmed by the video published by the Ukrainians in this area. This video was geolocated in this area of how the Ukrainians were FPV droning the Russians there. We have another FPV drone strikes in the farms in the eastern part, which also confirms Russians present there. So I understand 1-2 days and the Ukrainians will be completely forced to fall back from this territory. We have additional progress of the Russians in the village of Sokol. The Russians are moving further, and the Russians are trying to improve their positions and to get Vovcha River. The Russian soldiers were spotted on the main streets between Sokol and Voshod. Now let's move further. We have lots of updates about the Russian artillery activity in the vicinity of Selidova. We have a lot of videos of how the Russians were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian forces. By the way, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians published significant number of updates of use of FAB. For example, in this video, we can see how the Ukrainians were trying to hide HIMARS system, but the HIMARS system was discovered by the Russian reconnaissance service, and as a result of Iskander strike or artillery strike, that HIMARS system was destroyed. There was not just the HIMARS systems, there was also some ammo depot, different types of trucks, vehicles, maybe some carriers, many other different equipment, and this small barrack was destroyed. There was lots of Iskander strikes, by the way. As for New York, the Russians continued improving their positions to the west and to the east. Today, pro-Ukrainian mappers have adjusted their maps once again, adding additional tree lines and additional landfills and additional fortifications under complete Russian control. And also the Russians are trying to move in the eastern direction. Today we got the video how the Russians were fighting with the Ukrainians between these buildings, and after very heavy clashes, 4 Ukrainian soldiers decided to surrender. Now let's move further to Toretsk, New York agglomeration. We have additional updates. Pro-Ukrainian. Yesterday we discussed about the battle in this intersection of the streets, how the Ukrainians counterattacked the Russians with tank. And today we got additional update from pro-Ukrainian mappers. This territory was colored as a gray zone, and that the Russians are about to reach the main streets, the main street in this area, and we're talking about Pioneer Avenue. So the Ukrainians increased the square kilometers of the gray zone, which most likely means that the Russians have complete control over this territory. Now let's move further. We are going to Chasiv Yar, Klishchiivka direction. The Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to establish complete control over the western part of the Klishchiivka itself. That was stated by different pro-Russian mappers. As for geolocations, we have just one geolocation. The Ukrainians, the soldiers of 93rd Brigade, were attacking and FPV droning the Russians in this part of the forest. So the Russian snipers, Russian sabotage and reconnaissance group were operating in this area under very heavy fire from the Ukrainian side. Once again, according to some pro-Russian sources, the entire western part, the entire western forest was captured by the Russians by the morning of 14th of July of the local time. Now let's move further. We have additional reports about the purge in Ukrainian military forces among the Ukrainian brigades. According to information we have, the military purges began in 24th Mechanized Brigade. The thing is that after failed rotation between 41st and 24th Brigade that took place a few weeks ago, and that was like an epic and vital rotation. After that rotation, the Russians managed to break through the Ukrainian defense belt and to capture around 20% of Toretsk agglomeration, and now the Ukrainian authorities decided to return back 24th Brigade to Toretsk agglomeration with the purpose to stabilize the line of combat contact. But now 24th Brigade refused to follow the orders because they understand that they would force to attack in some unprepared positions, and basically the Ukrainians, they understand that military authorities of Ukraine are trying to send them to another meat grinder. The Russians continue artillery preparation in Siversk. We got additional FABs or additional Iskander strikes in this small town that became a real stronghold of armed forces of Ukraine on the way to Slaviansk-Kramatorsk. Currently, we can't tell for sure whether the Russians are about to begin their offensive, but most likely this is going to start very soon. South in Kupiansk direction, we haven't received anything important, just additional progress of the Russians in the vicinity of Makeivka. Yesterday, we discussed that the Ukrainians were bombing the Russians in this building. We got geolocation confirming Russian presence. We have adjusted based on this geolocation the Russian controlled territory. Later, pro-Ukrainian sources published additional map changes, and today we got additional updates that the Russians are also improving their positions in the southwest eastern part of Makeivka itself. So the Russians are trying to move in this direction as well, trying to attack the next city on the line by the name of Nevskaya. So very interesting situation. Now let's move further in the Kupiansk direction, northern Kupiansk direction. First of all, when talking about Kupiansk, of course, the most important thing in this area is logistic. And the Russian success, first of all, depends on the number of bridges, number of roads that been destroyed or that's been under complete Russian FPV drone or artillery control. And during the previous days, we got significant number of geolocations from this territory. For example, in Petropavlovka and Kupiansk itself, we received a series of videos from Kupiansk direction of how the Russians were hunting and destroying the Ukrainian logistic. In this video, we can see another Ukrainian bridge that was used by the Ukrainians for supplying and supporting their forces, and as a result of probably missile strike, the bridge was destroyed. This is very interesting because if we increase the numbers of updates, let's say since the beginning of the previous week, there was a video of how the Russians destroyed the bridge between Asinova. This bridge was destroyed by missile strike, maybe damaged because it's like a regular sand bridge. A little bit to the north, the Russians bombed another bridge in Sadova. Now we have the video that the Russians destroyed the bridge in this area, and a few days ago, also from the same direction, the Russians destroyed the bridge in the northern Kupiansk direction, this one. So as you can see, another bridge inside of Kupiansk, and this bridge is most interesting because as you can see, the bridge wasn't damaged by the Russians in the previous period of the special military operation, but now bridge collapsed completely. We have the video just for 2 weeks of how the Russians destroyed bridge here, also in the vicinity of Petropavlovka. So just for 1 week, for 8 days, the Russians attacked and destroyed around 8 or 9 bridges in this area, and which means that Ukrainian logistic was destroyed completely. Ukrainian logistic collapsed in the northern Kupiansk direction, which confirms that the Russians are about to begin the greatest full-scale offensive operation, or at least the Russians wants the Ukrainians to think like this, which will force them to keep additional forces, or on the other hand will force the soldiers on the ground to, let's say, be broken completely and to start withdrawing process. As for Kupiansk direction, we have the most important video that is coming from the town by the name of Budi. In this video, for example, we can see another Ukrainian convoy. Ukrainians brought additional forces, reinforcements and reserves to the line of combat contact to Kharkiv direction with the purpose to send them later to the line of combat contact. The Russians managed to discover this convoy, and the Russians destroyed significant number of armored vehicles as a result of 2 Iskander strikes. Later, the Russians stated, the group of forces north stated that as a result of the strike, the Ukrainians lost up to 20 vehicles and around 100 soldiers of armored forces of Ukraine. As for Liptsy and Volchansk direction, for Volchansk we haven't received anything, just regular activity, but the most important updates are coming from Russian foothold on the Ukrainian side of Seversky Donetsk River. The group of forces north stated that after very heavy artillery preparation, the Russians managed to improve their positions to the west of the village by the name of Sinelnikova, and they managed to capture additional positions. So this is the village Sinelnikova, this is the western direction, so somewhere here the Russians managed to improve their positions once again, and before that improvement the northern forces reported about artillery preparation. So most likely this is exactly the video of that artillery preparation and that the Russians used before the beginning of some more or less full-scale offensive operation in the eastern side of Seversky Donetsk River. As for Liptsy direction, there are still very heavy clashes in Gluboko, but the most important is the Russians continue using FAB-3000, FAB-1500. The Ukrainians suffer significant losses. Sometimes they don't have enough of time to replace additional losses and to bring additional reinforcements or reserves, because they need to accumulate them somewhere. They need to concentrate forces to keep them under control. Of course, the Russian reconnaissance work for 100%, and as soon as the Russians see another Ukrainian temporary position, they destroy this immediately. The source reported that as a result of this FAB-3000 strike, the Ukrainians lost 40 soldiers at once. So a very important and very powerful strike. In this video we can see another strike, but according to the Russians, during this attack the Ukrainians lost up to 100 soldiers just as a result of one FAB-3000 or FAB-1500 strike. So as you can see, the situation is very critical for the Ukrainians all over the line of combat contact. Now we understand that most likely Donald Trump is going to become the next president of Ukraine. The Ukrainian brigades are saying that that was the very best operation of Ukrainian special forces, and that the most of Ukrainian soldiers on the ground support Joe Biden, because they understand that in this case they will continue receiving weapon and they will continue war with Russia. So the situation is complicated, and probably today, the 14th of July, is the worst day as in 24, maybe for the previous 10 years, because now everything is about to be changed, everything is on the brink, and let's see what is going to be next. And that's it for this video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.